All right, welcome to the Side Action, episode 36 of season 7. My name is Jim Weglars, aka Wegs. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Wegspool.
And I'm Coop. You can check me out at Coop, or I guess, good God, how many times have I done this? My God, at Dalton Cooper on Instagram and at Mr. Grumpy Gills on X. Make sure to follow us on the Side Action on TikTok. It's Jim's second child, so I know he does all the hoopla for that. So happy to be back. We have some esteemed colleagues joining us. I'm really excited to hear about this. I have complete novice when it comes to horse racing. So
yeah, we finally made it to the Kentucky Derby preview. It's our season finale, so it's a big one here. We've got Art Primetime Murphy, for those of you that watched some other preview races a couple weeks ago, and then we have Alastar, aka the Turf King, who's on with us today to also give us some insights into the races. So thanks for joining us, boys.
Hey, thanks for having us. Appreciate it.
Man, it's a Super Bowl for horse racing fans, so we had to bring in the heavy hitter, Alastar McGrath, in there. So he's a great handicapper. He might be, he might not say it out loud, but this is someone who I've learned so much from. So we're so lucky to have him aboard. So thanks for joining us, Alastar.
Hey, Art, don't blame me for your losses, all right?
Only the wins. So last weekend we had a lot of things going. We had the live event, obviously, Four Shadows. That was a good time, and Art actually showed up. We had some other people. Steph Moon showed up. It was a good time, and then I had a little mini Free Swingers reunion, just kind of impromptu, last Friday at Nice Lounge, which had some lore for the team a little bit, and more importantly, Art and I took down Rivers again. Yes. We did it again. This man cannot be stopped. The two Riversmen of the Apocalypse rode in there, and we passed Alastar on the way. We actually called him to the softball game on the street. We're like, was that Alastar right there? He lost. Does he need a ride to Rivers?
You should just grabbed him and throw him in the car.
That was God trying to get me away from a 10-year-old girls softball game and into gambling, but alas, I didn't make it.
Yeah, more on that later, but that was awesome. We had a great time, and yes, I did go back by myself, Art. It was probably a mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. So Jimmy Wegs won again, so it was a big day. Wow. So how about you, Coop? What'd you end up getting into last week?
Nothing too much after Thursday. We did like a brunch city day on Saturday, so that was nice. Spent some time with like Steph and Caesar and the gang. And then nothing too much. We had Tuesday night bowling. We're going to be in the finals.
Yeah, let's go.
Are We Rolling Balls Yet is officially into the finals. So hopefully we can bring it home this year. And other than that, finally the weather is just nice. It's just nice to have the door open or the window open at night, not having to the seasonal depression is officially leaving. So
Dalton, we're going to have to get on the golf course soon, buddy.
Oh yeah. I've been hitting the simulator. I've been getting warmed up for you. Oh yeah.
Right. You missed that whole brainstorming idea of getting into the simulator business, but that's more on that in another podcast. But hey, Dalton, when you guys won on Tuesday, did you take out the team that beat you last year, or was it a different team? Into the finals?
Well, the finals is this coming Tuesday, which would be like the 6th, I think. But no, I think the team that beat us last year, I think either A, got beat already or they didn't make the playoffs, one or the other.
Yeah.
So
let's go.
Yeah. Back-to-back years we're in the finals, so hopefully we can get the job done this time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And so I know Alastar had like 16 softball games and soccer games or whatever he was doing out there. I don't know what he was doing. You're a busy man on Saturday.
I'll tell you what, on Saturdays and Sundays these days, we've just started. I have two daughters who play travel softball. So we probably average around 5 to 7, 5 to 8, maybe softball games a weekend now. So it's, The good thing about it is there's a lot of dads that brings, basically packs of beer on Saturdays and Sundays. So once the weather warms up, it's actually not a bad way to spend about an afternoon. So
Pack the sunscreen.
Yeah. Just have to be careful. A couple of the dads are into bourbon, so that gets a little bit dodgy near about 6 o'clock on a Saturday night.
I like it. And Prime, what did you end up making it down to the Carryman or no?
No, you know what? I worked that afternoon and started handicapping the Derby Saturday night. Yeah, nothing too special this weekend, but it's all good. I'm saving all my focus and energy for Friday and Saturday.
Nice.
Right. Well, let's get into the shed first. Obviously, plenty of shed participants this week. Coop, you want to start us off?
Oh, yeah. This one I thought I'm going to pat myself on the back because I thought this was really well done. But I'm putting sports dads. So obviously not Alastar, but the sports dads in general. we've had quite a run the last couple weeks of sports dads really being in the shed. First, we had Nico Emileva's dad, Emilava. I don't know. We'll
Sure.
get there. Your guy. That's your guy. I'll say
My
the pronunciation for you. His dad talked him out of going from Tennessee, asking for more money. They told him to hit the road, and it basically cost him $3.5 million. So that's tough. So his dad's in the shed. We had Jeff Ulbricht's son prank calling Shadur Sanders during the draft, letting him know that he was going to be Mickey Loomis and that, he's going to have to wait even longer if he wants to get drafted. So that's tough. And then lastly, we had Tyrese Halliburton's dad. We literally had his dad on the court
yelling
face to face with Giannis. And shout out to Giannis. I mean, if Giannis was any more of an asshole, I mean, he's probably the most down to earth superstar, and very humble guy, thank God, because otherwise if he would have swung on Halliburton's dad, I don't think anybody would fault him because, I mean, thank God he knew, hopefully, that it was Halliburton's dad because otherwise it would just put some random guy coming up to him on the court. But, just
smack.
Yeah, way to take a moment from your son. I mean, Halliburton scored like 6 points the last 35 seconds for that game to even go to overtime.
Right.
But yeah, sports dads in the shed. Last couple weeks have been tough for them. So it's you hate to see it.
And Ulbricht's kid cost the team $250,000 and his dad $100,000. So, I mean, what are we doing here?
Yeah, that's tough. I think I saw like another thing with the Falcons where they've had like 5 or 6 different fines because like obviously Bijan Robinson got misreported for an injury at some point so I think it's like over $1 million that the Falcons have lost due to like just literally mismanagement of normal stuff. Right. So, and
then are you going to take this one, or is Primetime going to jump in for this next one?
I was going to let Prime take it. I had some stats if he forgot something.
No, you take it, Coop.
All right. I got to put the Lakers in the shed. They got bounced in 5 last night. They obviously made the big splash for Luka, and I just realized in the outline I spelled Luka 2 different ways, so that's pretty funny. But the big loser in all this is the public. The public was betting the Lakers like mad. If you remember, he got traded back on February 1st. So literally that next day, February 2nd, was the single most betted NBA future day in the whole season, with over 50% of tickets betting on the Lakers to win the finals. In some sports books, you saw their odds go from 40-1 to 13-1. Yeah. So them getting bounced the first round, shout out to everybody that listens to this podcast because they probably have a future on the Lakers, and they're probably in the shed with the rest of us. So I took the Clippers. That was my team I put a future on. I'm not feeling good about it anymore, as good as I was earlier. But yeah, Lakers are in the shed. I don't know what they're going to do. They got to get in better shape. They got to do something.
Well, I mean, Luka.
We'll see.
I mean, no offense to us older men, but he looks like a middle-aged man out there. The dude's 26. I mean, Jesus Christ. Push away from the table, hit the gym, do an elliptical or something. My God. I know he hurt his back on the one play, but Julius
he was sick too.
Him in the fourth quarter. It was pretty sad last night.
Yeah. For sure.
All right. Well, I'm going to stick on the basketball tip for the first one for the shed. Milwaukee Bucks. Obviously, Dame Lillard went down. That's not why they're in the shed. It is sad. But with him going down, they're probably not going to get him back to 2027, if ever, at his stage of his career. They're 1-9 in their last 10 playoff games with Giannis averaging over 36 points a game. Yeah. That's a problem. And guess what? No first-round pick to 2031 right now. Yeah. This team is dead in the water. Giannis has to be traded or has to demand a trade. He's never going to do anything up there. And, as you said, Halliburton, I mean, he handled himself well, but Milwaukee just couldn't get it done, man. It's sad.
Yeah, hot take. I was reading that the Oklahoma City Thunder could be a front runner to land Giannis because they have such a smorgasbord of picks that have just been sitting there. And, that would be scary. I mean, I think they would break the league if Giannis went to Oklahoma City. But anyway, we'll save that for a later day.
Ounce of power. And then obviously the obvious one, Shadur Sanders. I feel kind of bad for him and him getting prank called. But in the end, he kind of made his bed. Now he's got a line. And he did go to the Browns, which may be a situation where he can start. But he fell all the way to the 5th round. And I don't understand the Browns. I was kind of on the fence. Do I put the Browns or do I put Shadur? And I think their first 4 picks were pretty good. But why they picked Dylan Gabriel, who was probably a backup in the league, and now Shadur is baffling to me. But either way, Shadur got his comeuppance, lost a lot of money, as we know, for falling all the way down. So guess what? Shadur, get in the shed. Maybe you can, work on your press conferences or whatever you need to do in there and talk to the rest of this group.
Yeah, instead of legendary on the walls, it just says the shed, on his draft room next time. But Yeah, it's tough. I think that was an ownership pick. That was like the big consensus that I've gathered from all the other sources I've listened to is that,
for sure.
yeah, Haslam's got involved and they were like, yeah, we need to take Shador. So
Well,
other thing, Mel Kiper, the only team he graded A+ was the Browns. And I thought that was really funny.
You saw the one coach for the Browns. He was just like, kind of like, his face was all. So let's flip it around. We'll get positive, like we like to go with, positive into our picks. Let's start with Club Dub. Obviously, Alastar, maybe you haven't listened to the podcast much, but Club Dub is the place where, the winners go. But more importantly, there's a special section of Club Dub known as the Art Primetime Murphy Murphy Lounge. It's a very special place. Only the best of the best can get in there. So today we're going to put these guys in there, especially one of these people. So go ahead, Coop. What do you got in Club Dub?
Well, the first team I had up was the Cavs, the Cleveland Cavaliers. I debated on going back and forth with this too. Like, do I put the Heat in the shed or do I put the Cavs in Club Dub? So I'm just going to put the Cavs in Club Dub. Yeah, they were plus 122 over their 4-game sweep of the Miami Heat, which is the largest, most lopsided point differential or total point difference between two teams in NBA history. So the 55-point defeat that they had in Game 4, they being the Heat, was the largest in Miami Heat playoff history. And then the Heat lost Games 3 and 4 by a combined 92 points, which also set the NBA record for the most lopsided point differential in a 2-game span in the playoffs. So, yeah, shout out to the Cavs. They look really good. They're going to play the Pacers, which I think is going to be a great series. I still think the Cavs probably win that in 6, I would imagine. But yeah, the Cavs look like they might be able to challenge the Celtics. That's been the hot topic all year round. So
they are the 1 seed. They are the 1 seed in the East. So obviously they're going to have the home court advantage. But we'll see. That should be exciting.
And then I had the Colts. I thought I was looking back at all the draft picks and the teams, and I think there was a couple teams that had some really good drafts. But I really like what the Colts did. I mean, they got Tyler Warren, which arguably could have been the steal of the draft the way that he fell. I think it was 14th that they got him at.
Went past the Bears.
Yeah. I was going to say the Bears didn't want him, which is a whole different discussion. They got Timu Alau from Ohio State, which is an edge rusher. He's going to be a plug-and-play starter for them. They got DJ Giddens out of Kansas State, which behind Jonathan Taylor, they've kind of always been looking for that second running back. He's a good pass catcher. And then they got Riley Leonard, which I think is going to be helpful for them. They're probably going to have Daniel Jones start. The Anthony Richardson experience is probably over after this year. So to have somebody that can maybe learn from Daniel Jones, very similar skill set, in my opinion. They're kind of the same guy.
Sure.
So I just feel like they did a lot of good things, and their division's wide open because Houston still needs an offensive line. I don't know what the hell Houston was thinking.
They didn't really draft it.
Yeah, it didn't make a lot of sense to me. And then Jacksonville made the big splash for Travis Hunter, and we'll see what happens. But I like a lot of things the Colts did, so we'll put them in Club Dub.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to go to my number 2 first because the first one's more important. We got Aaron Gordon of the Nuggets. When they were down 2-1 again to the Clippers, and on the last play of the game, Jokic threw that ball up, and he somehow got his fingers off the ball inside the cylinder, just enough time for the buzzer to go off to take the series to 2-2. They have a 3-2 lead now. Actually, did they lose? No, not 3-2. Yeah, they did.
Yeah, they won Tuesday night. They played tonight. Yeah,
they played tonight. So they have a chance to close out, which is pretty exciting. But
was that the first time dunk buzzer beater in playoff history? By the way, because I couldn't understand how it was a buzzer beater because does the clock stop once the ball goes through, or does it stop once the ball hits the floor? That was so mind-boggling to me.
Yeah,
that could be a
the
buzzer
bottom
beater.
line is on getting the shot off, it has to be out of his hands, right?
Right.
But there was a debate whether, since it was in the cylinder, if it would count it, but they just said it was out of his hand. I mean, they had to kind of do the super slow-mo to check that out.
Yeah.
But yeah,
just the camera angle they used for that, the sky, whatever. Yeah,
the sky cam. But I think there was, at the end of the half of one of the games, there was a similar play that happened as well. But for a buzzer beater for the game, no, I don't think that's ever happened. And more importantly, the man who earned his own lounge space, Art Primetime Murphy, could not be stopped. This man was incredible. He rolled all the numbers. He almost rolled the uppers again, right? He rolled the talls again. It was just back up, let the man cook. His first roll, he actually almost got the smalls, and then we kind of went around the table, and then he was so relaxed. It was you got to get Art either a little bit drunk or a little bit sleepy, because then he's totally relaxed. and he's just tossing up the back wall. It was just amazing. We were stacking chips. So thank you, Art, for starting the weekend right and then making me feel like I could go back and win some more money. So thank you, Art Primetime Murphy, for earning your lounge.
Hey, you're the man. I was not planning on going to Rivers on Saturday morning, but I met up with you guys for the live podcast, and Jim's like, "Hey, we're doing Saturday morning." I'm like, "Nothing," and throughout
Nice.
Rivers. So you're the man to set it up. And then honestly, who would have guessed? Like after bringing up, what we're up that morning, someone like decided to go back later on Saturday night and throw the dice one more time on his own, and Mr. Wegs went on fire, and he up another huge unit too. So hey, you got obviously both of you guys got, all three of you guys got like space in my little section of the club dub. So
Hell yeah.
always welcome.
Thanks, Primetime.
Hey,
How pumped was the table? That's what I want to know. Like the table had to be going nuts. Like the rest of the.
So it was, for a Saturday morning, there was some space. There were actually, we should have recounted all of this. There was a $5 table, Luke, if he's listening, he'll be mad because he didn't show up. There were a couple $10 tables. There were a couple 15s and a 25. So they had a nice variety. Our table when we got there was pretty empty. And as you can imagine, as soon as Prime hit the first roll when he was doing pretty well, it started filling in, but we got lucky. A couple of guys passed the dice. So it came to Art after like 4 guys. It was like I rolled, another guy rolled, then like 2 guys rolled, and then it was right to him. So we were only like 5-6 shooters in. And but what was great about Primetime, as you guys know, he's the most generous man in the world. He's tipping, he's like, here, this is for, but I had to correct him. He's like, this is for the house. I'm like, not the house. The house is taking your money. It's for the crew. But we were tipping, like we got them inside. I don't know if you were tipping them on the line, but we were giving them a lot of cash. So they made plenty of money on you, Primetime.
They did. Hey, I want to add Rory McElroy to the club dub section. After your great podcast a few weeks ago, your guest was awesome. Great insight. He knew his stuff inside and out. That was a really, informative podcast. And it was so nice to see Roy get the shot, get that big monkey off his back. And the way he collapsed at the end. I mean, you could just tell it was been weighing him down for a decade or so. Whatever. Long. So happy for him.
He collapsed a couple times before he actually collapsed after the win.
You're right. I needed like some blood pressure medicine because up and down. It was when he dumped his wedge into the creek. I was like, "Well, that's a shot Art could do." I could.
That's arguably the best Sunday of golf that we've probably ever witnessed on just the roller coaster that it went on. Yeah. I mean, the first hole he doubled. He gave the lead away on the first hole.
I know.
Yeah.
And I was watching him like he's going to blow it right away, and then of course, Bryson didn't have a very good morning.
I wonder there's like good Roy and bad Roy, and it's like Roy has to beat the good Roy has to beat the bad Roy. That way, Rory can actually win. If that, that's the age-old tale. But go ahead.
I think one of the things helped him a lot too is he's going against Rose, who's exactly a closer. I said it kind of reminded me of a British Open maybe about 10 years ago when it was Harrington versus what's his name? Who's the Spaniard? Sergio. And those 2 guys were the 2 biggest chokers in majors, and they were in a playoff together. It was to see who could not lose. So I figured Roy might have a chance against Rose.
That's the second time Justin Rose has lost in a playoff at the Masters too. So that's tough for him.
And he had such a great close in his round. He played so well to get up to the lead. But it's different when you're playing mano-a-mano like that.
Yeah, very much so.
All right, well, let's jump into the big weekend here. We've got the Derby and the Oaks on Friday. So Churchill Downs, obviously these guys are experts. We'll let them run. We're going to do some pre-races first, including one of the Oaks races, and then we'll do a bunch of races from Saturday, both dirt and turf races, if I understand correctly. So, Art, you want me to rattle off these guys? Or you just want to go in who you like in this first race on Friday, which is the 9th race?
Yeah, I think that's best because we could keep these short and quick for this stuff. All right, Kentucky Oaks, Friday afternoon, late afternoon. It's the 3-year-old fillies. They've been doing all these prep races, and you're getting 14 of the best, 3-year-olds out there for the classic, distance here, mile and was it 1/8. So, when I initially looked at it, I really like Lacara a lot, but she's a speed horse, and there's a lot of speed horses in this race. So then I looked to the outside, quiet side, and I think, she could run, just off the pace and maybe, get the speeds, get the speeds at the end. The only problem I'm not too happy about her, she's in the 14th post. So she's going to be really wide out, and she's going to need, her jockey is going to need to get a good trip, Jose Ortiz, which he can certainly do. So I landed, actually, this is so like counterintuitive. Bob Bedford is known for dirt speed horses, especially for the males. But I'm falling in love with Tenema. She's going to be in the 9-hole. Juan Hernandez is the jockey. Bob Bedford's the trainer. And then the breeder is Bobby Flay. So if anybody likes the Food Channel, there you go. So this horse.
Look at with the fun facts.
Yeah, just a couple of facts for the general public out there. So if you throw $2 on the number 9 horse Tenema, you're backing Bobby Flay, and if this horse wins, you'll see him out there celebrating in the winner's circle. And the reason why I'm picking her is she won the last 3 races in a row. One of her thorough numbers was a 2. The second to last race, that 2 is really solid. Now, can she get back to a 2? If she gets to a 3 or even a 4, she'll win this race easily. So that's my pick on the Oaks. I'm kind of just interested to see what Alastar thinks.
Well, I guess I'm giving you a couple of my lawyerly caveats, first of all, which is
good idea.
Yeah, I think part of it is, though, for horse racing, especially on days like today, probably for the turf, but also for the dirt, the weather is really important. And the issue you have here is, I don't know, Art, if you took a look as of a couple hours ago, but it looks like it's supposed to rain most of Friday and the entire day on Saturday. So that kind of changes the complexion because different horses are going to perform better in basically dirt and turf races based on the actual going of the courses. I mean, just to give kind of local person or the person who doesn't do a lot of horse racing, some perspective. Imagine you're a horse that's a stalking horse that likes to sit 3rd or 4th in a race. Well, right now in a normal race, you might get some regular kickback of some dirt, but now you're going to be getting mud slung into your face from a horse ahead of you going 40 miles an hour. Mm-hmm. And some horses just absolutely hate it. Some don't mind it, but it does just kind of completely change the complexion of some of these races. Earlier you mentioned Lacara. Again, speed horse, not really a great track record in the slop. Ran once, poorly in it. Doesn't seem to be bred for it as well. That being said, if you talk to all the clockers this week, they were actually saying she was the most impressive horse out there, Oaks or Derby. So, you kind of have to decide which way you're going to go with that with her. I think Good Cheer is going to be the prohibitive favorite in this. She's done nothing wrong. All she's done is 1-1-1. I will say her speed figures are a little bit on the light side, so she is going to have to still take a step up. To me, this type of year is kind of like trying to take and find some improving horses. I don't know, Jim, you guys probably already, Art's definitely heard me talk about this. 2- and 3-year-old horses, people don't really have a great understanding of how much these improve from month to month, and why some horses can really just jump up out of nowhere. I kind of give an example to people. 2-year-olds running are kind of like somewhere between 16 to 18-year-olds. The fastest 18-year-old, might be great, but all of a sudden they turn 3, and 3-year-olds are kind of like 19 to 22-year-olds. That's how fast they develop. So you might be the fastest 18-year-old in a race, but all of a sudden push on to 21. Now you have a whole new crop of people who are going to be a lot faster than you. And so that's kind of what happens in this horse racing a lot, especially around this time of year for these 3-year-olds, and why you see a lot improving. So that's my long-winded way of basically getting around to, I'm going to go for a horse called Simply Joking. Really lightly raced horse, only its 4th start. It's basically ran in a couple of small stakes races before it jumped up to grade 2, the fantasy. Ran actually nice second to Art's horse that he mentioned, Quiet Side. Quiet Side going out to the 14 hole is a huge disadvantage. For a race like this, that's really the difference. Could be 3 or 4 different lengths between, inside and outside for that type of horse, especially the speed, because imagine they have to go to that turn pretty quickly, and you don't want to be hung 4 or 5 wide. So you have to really put the engine into the horse to get it going, which will take out some of the zip it has near the end of a race. So there's only 3/4 of a length between them last time, with Simply Joking be so lightly raced. That's kind of the direction I'm going. Plus, he's already run in the slop and one going away, so he seems to be okay with the actual surface. So all those together, that's kind of the way I'm landing. Now, one last thing. I do have one futures bet in this race. I have Ballerina d'Oro at 19-1, so that's what I'm rooting for to come in. She'll probably be around 7-1 on the day, so kind of hoping for her. But I think just given the way everything's been playing out, Simply Joking would kind of be the direction I'd be going.
Okay, sounds good. So when you say you got a future, when did you do that, or how long in advance did you do that one?
So right now, so you can still basically Churchill Downs started for the actual Derby. They start in December, and they do 5 or 6 different like monthly futures bets and pools they create. And the Oaks they only do one. And I want to say I did this one for the Oaks was about 2 months ago. So
Nice. Okay, so now let's jump to Saturday. We've got several races, pre-races to go. We've got the Saturday, the 6th race. This is the Pat Day Mile is what it says. And that's a 1 mile race at the dirt track. Art, you're going to handle this one, or you want me to run through the horses for you?
I can handle it. So this race is the 3-year-olds again that were on the Kentucky Dirt. Well, many of these horses were on the Kentucky Derby Trail. They started off with typically the sprint races, and then they went up towards the route races, the longer races, the 2-turn races. And then they found out, the ownership and the trainers found out that these horses may not like the longer distance. So now, they entered their horses into the Pat Day Mile, race number 6 on Saturday at Churchill Downs. So a lot of these horses have raced against the Kentucky Derby horses that we'll talk about a little later in this podcast. And some have done okay, against these horses, but some of them tried and failed epically because they're just not bred to run the longer distances. And for this race, I was focusing on a couple horses. And the way I'm looking at this race is that I think, there's going to be some speed in this race. So I was looking for some horse that would come off the speed and maybe, get them at the wire. And the horse I landed on is number 5, Gate to Wire, kind of appropriate for the horse I'm picking. The trainer's Todd Pletcher. The jockey's going to be Flavin Pratt. And this horse won the Swale at Gulfstream 2 months ago, and he beat Macho Music, who's in this race. And that race was 7 furlongs, so it was a 1-turn, quicker race. His last race, he ran in the Fountain of Youth, a Grade 2 stakes race, more of a classical distance, and he didn't do as fair as well. He lost to Sovereignty, River Thames, NeoQuest. So those are all horses. Oh, I'm sorry, two of the horses I reeled off. They'll be in the Kentucky Derby, and he lost by 4.5 lengths. So he was there, but the distance he didn't enjoy. So I have a feeling that this horse can. There might be some pace in front of him. That's how I'm forecasting this race, and that he'll be able to nip these guys at the wire on this 1-turn race. And so that's the horse I'm going with, Gate to Wire number 5. Now the 2 other horses that do intrigue me is 2 Built. The Wayne Castellano, the cat, is the trainer. His horse he's ready to go. He ran the LeCompte Risen Star in the Louisiana Derby. The reason why I faded him a little bit, I don't know if I like the horses down in that part of the down south, New Orleans racetrack area for the Kentucky Derby prep races. What the fields weren't as strong, so that's why I kind of faded that horse. And then Madaket Road is Bob Bafford's horse. And remember what I was talking earlier, Bob's known for the dirt horses, with a lot of speed. I mean, he is the favorite. He's going to be the morning line favorite and probably the favorite going off. He's 2-1 right now. Bob Bafford, you got Irad Ortiz on top, and he's ran against the best horses too, the Florida Derby, the Rebel, RB Lewis. So and he's been up close, like losing, in respectable lengths. Now there's some other horses out there that race against some of these Kentucky Derby prep horses and just got smoked, and I kind of tossed them. So if I was going, my win bet would be Gate to Wire with some value, and if you want to do exacta box, throw in those 3 horses and let it roll.
What was the 3rd horse again? Just which number was it again?
Okay, the numbers will be for the exacta box 1, 2, 5. Exacta box it. That'll cost you $6. Was it $6? I think
$6 for a buck.
For a buck, yeah.
Got it.
One interesting thing, guys, just to kind of talk about a little bit, just as anyone's looking at home. I was talking a little bit about, the rain that they're supposed to get on Saturday. One thing that's kind of important is kind of different surfaces. Not all tracks are the same. Like, for instance, some are topsoil based, more clay based. Churchill Downs is a completely sand based track. And so when the rain comes, a lot of times what they'll do is they'll seal the track. So imagine like they basically just get it and completely compress it down so it's as hard as not quite concrete, but along those lines. Because when all the rain's coming, they don't want it to get absorbed into the sand, and so it'll go off to the side as much as possible. But what that sometimes does is create a track whereby speed tends to last a little bit longer. So it's just something to think about tomorrow. You might, if anybody's listening to the broadcast and they talk about a sealed track, it's something to then start looking at and seeing if there's any race biases as you're going in where speed is starting to hold. So if you're looking at some of these and you do have an opportunity to take a look at some of the past performances, you might want to start taking a look at some of maybe the speed favoring horses. So
that's a great point, Alastar. Yeah, but the handicapping I just gave out is the track is running fair. But if it's like that, then look to when Alastar's saying look at the past performances. When you start looking at the numbers, at the first the quarter, the half mile, and the mile, you want to kind of see the numbers 1 and 2 popping up a lot, because that means that horse is near the front or at the front. If you see a horse, say it's a 6-field horse and you see 5, 5, 4, 1, that means that horse is a closer. Just a little a quick little tip on how to read the past performances.
Gotcha. Okay, the next race we're going to talk about is race 7. This is a turf race, the Twin Spires Turf Sprint. It's only 5.5 furlongs. Alastar, you're jumping into this one, so let us know who to look for on this one.
Yeah, you know what? I think this is, again, one of those races we talked about. Again, you're going to have to watch the weather a lot because, again, soft or, say, good turf track, you'll see firm is kind of like the different – in the U.S., they basically have firm, good, yielding, and soft. That basically just tells you how much, horses' hooves are basically going to dig into the grass as they're going, and certain horses are just going to perform better than others. Not too surprisingly, probably a lot of the European-bred horses are going to be a little bit more acclimated to the softer ones just based on their pedigrees. With that in mind, and honestly, even if it's probably not that soft, I think Rogue Lightning is a good play here, number 8. If you take a look at that horse, he's actually been last year and then the year before running against some of the best turf sprinters in the world, not just Europe or the United States. If you go back through his performances, even last year, he was second by a length and a half to a horse called Starlust. Starlust actually won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Sprint here last year in the States. He raced against, was about 5 lengths off of Big Evs. 2 years ago, Big Evs won the juvenile turf sprint at the Breeders' Cup, which is our biggest races. So he's basically keeping company with some of the best horses in the world. Right now, he's got one of the best jockeys on him in Pratt. He came over for his first race on the 8th of April and finished second by a half. It was actually, I think Art and I both watched this race. But long story short, he kind of stayed off very close to a fairly hot pace. Took the lead and got past at the end, was second by a half length. But if you actually take a look, the winner and the third place horse both came from the back of the pack, and the horses that were on the lead or near the lead with him all faded pretty severely. So I think that was a good tune-up race for him, and I would say this would be a strong play for on Saturday, rain or no rain. It would be a pretty big play for me.
Okay, just to win. You would just pick him to win then?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing, guys. I probably do a lot of exactas and things like that, as Art knows. I like to find a lot. Sometimes if I'm going with a horse that's 7-2, 5-2, things like that, I'm more of a value player. Mm-hmm. What I like to do is then find a horse that if I think a couple horses that might be outsiders that would have a good chance based on different factors to come second, because you can kind of get a lot of odds built in that the average horse player isn't necessarily playing. So it basically increases my odds. And I'm still playing that favorite. If you're looking for that second place horse, a little bit of a higher odds, there's a horse called Run Carson, which is number 6. I'm not 100% sure he's going to take to the turf, the good to soft. He does have some background on it and is raced okay on it. I think basically he had a comeback race in that same race as Sharkerton, ran very evenly. He just actually had a blowout workout of 3 furlongs and a 33. Which Art would tell you is insanely fast. Kind of makes you that's what they'll sometimes do with these sprinting horses too to get them ready. Basically, this horse is ready to roll. Whether he's good enough, I'm not sure, but I might play the 6 underneath in an exacta with him.
Nice. Okay, the next race that we're looking at is the 9th race on Saturday. It's called the American Turf Stakes, which is what is it, 1 1/16 on a turf. So, Alistair, would you like it? It's a pretty big field, 18 horses.
Yeah, so I think those 14 will get in. So there's probably 4 on the also eligible list. I'm not quite sure. Generally, you might get one of those in, but for the most part, you're going to be probably. Sorry, I think it'll be only 12 actually for Churchill Downs. I will tell you, I'm going to give you and your listeners my long shot play of the day, which I really think has an amazing shot, and it's
How about the 401k play of the day.
I was getting the 401k pick of the week, baby. This is what I love to hear.
There's a horse, the number 1 horse called Warlander. And one of the things Art will tell you that I talk to him a lot about, which is breeding, especially in turf races. For those people who don't play horses, there's horses that run on turf, they don't run on dirt, and vice versa. There might be some horses that can overlap and be mediocre at it, but the reality is, and it's breeding wise, it's basically a lot of times too for the turf breeding. I know I'm not going to get too deep on it, but a lot of those horses have actually bigger, flatter hooves so they can grip the turf a lot more. And so a lot of this, whether you're going to be good on turf, is going to be predicted just by your breeding and basically what your parents and your ancestors did. On top of that, you have certain horses that like what I call a cut in the ground, kind of like when the ground's a little bit softer, and it's just they're bred that way. And one of those horses is that you'll see in bloodlines is called El Prado. It's an Irish horse, goes way back, and you see El Prado lines. You're going to like a horse that likes a little bit of cut in the ground. I have a funny feeling you're going to see with all the rain we're getting there, at least somewhat tonight and tomorrow, and then if it's all day Saturday for them, you're going to see a softer turf course. And the number 1 horse, that Warlander, he's going to be probably over 20-1. He's a Steve Asmussen horse. They thought a lot of him initially just because you can see he broke his maiden and they put him straight into a grade 2 race. He finished only 5th by 3.5. I watched the race. Hit a little bit of trouble in basically the backstretch. At that point, they kind of just took him out for the year because, again, 2-year-olds, they don't like to run too much. They brought him out 2 weeks ago or 2.5 weeks ago for a race, and it was a very even race. You could see it was just a prep race to get ready for this. I don't know if normally, given some of the quality horses in here, he'd necessarily be, the one I would pick on a normal day. But given his breeding and given the soft turf course, I think he's going to get a big step up based on the surface alone. So one will be a pretty decent play for me. I'll also tell you there's another horse here. Let me just make sure I have the number right. Number 7, which is Zulu. Sorry, dropping off here.
Zulu Kingdom.
Thank you, Zulu Kingdom.
I like Kingdom. Yeah.
Here's my only problem with Zulu Kingdom. I think he'll be well bet on the day. He's by 10 sovereigns out of No Nay Never. Those horses are usually 6 to 7 furlong horses. They will like the soft going, as you'll see. His first race was in France on soft going on 7 furlongs, and he won going away. He will like the going. I will tell you, I think the 1/16 on the soft going is probably going to be a little bit too long for him. And I actually saw an interview by Chad Brown early this week, and it was before all the rain came, and he said, I think a mile's where this horse is at, and we're going to have to try and find that extra 16. So with that said, and the softer going, I'm going to basically stay away from him, at least on the top end. I might still bring him into the back end of an exactor or some trifectas with the 1. But again, he's probably one of the quality horses in the race, along with the 10, which is Ironman Cal. Great D'Amato. Philip D'Amato is a California trainer, really good with turf horses. He actually brings a lot of horses out of Europe, buys them for his clients and races them. The only thing is when they're buying them, a lot of the horses they're trying to bring out of Europe are ones that will adapt or like the firm footing. And I just don't think they're going to get it. And I think he'll be over bet a little bit on Saturday. So again, I'm going to probably stay away from him and pretty much maybe take a play on that 1. And if we're getting anywhere near 20-1, we all might be going back to the casino that night then.
All right, let's go. Throw the dice. Hey, also, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Phil doesn't really ship his horses out east too often. Is that why you're saying once he brings his horses from Europe, they like the firmer stuff because they're running out in Southern California? Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, that's where a lot of his horses are all based, right? That's where his home is. He does bring them around a little bit, especially for these 5 furlong races. Again, at certain times, Churchill Downs, if this was a dry track for 2 weeks, it'll play firm enough for him. The grass is a little bit longer, but coming from Europe, a lot of those horses, they'd still like it, even if they like the firm going. But nonetheless, I still think that for what he's going to get on Saturday, it's just not what he's going to want. So.
Interesting. All right. Cool.
All right, let's do one more prep race before we get to the big show here. We've got race number 10. This is the Derby City Distaff Stakes, 7 furlongs. And are you jumping on this one, or are you guys both on this one?
I am jumping on this one. 7 furlongs, 4-year-olds and upwards. And, we got the fillies. The ladies are in the house now. And what you call it? Or is it ladies or not? Yeah, fillies and mares. So the horses I was looking at is the number one. I'm just going to kind of just briefly talk about the horses I looked at, and then I'll let you know who I like.
Okay.
I looked at the number 1 horse, Celia. Bill Mott's the trainer, just classy. Judd Mont Farms is the breeder and the ownership. You got Joel Rosario. Not one of my favorite jockeys, but still a great jockey. And this horse is 4 for 4 at Churchill Downs at the distance. 2 tries at it and only placed once. Certainly got the speed figures to pull this race off. It seems like the horse that everyone's talking about is number 2 horse, Copian. I might be mispronouncing that name, but it's a Richard Mandela horse based off of Santa Anita. So they're shipping out to Churchill, the Midwest, and that seems like that's the now horse. Everyone likes that horse. So I certainly was looking at that horse. Who else was I looking at? Number 7, Vava, Sherry DeVos, trainer. Irad Ortiz is the jockey. This horse is also 4 for 4 at Churchill Downs. And at this distance, 9 times race at this distance, 5 wins, 2 places, and 1 show. This horse is, really, really good. And then there's number 8, Ways and Means. You got Chad Brown, Flavin Pratt, Kirkovich Stables. Just classy. So what I'm trying to spit out to you guys, this is a really good quality field. I think there's even one more house in the back. My Main Squeeze, that's halfway decent too. Michael Maker. So this is just a loaded field. There's 2 horses I really like. One's a stretch, and I know it's a stretch, but I'm gonna go for it probably. I might do 2 bets, but the horse I'm leaning towards is number 11, Positano Sunset. She is a 5-year-old. Golden Sense is the sire, so into Mischief. And this horse as a 5-year-old, the first 2 races is just firing out of the gate. She's won 2 races in a row, a 92 Beyer speed figure and then a 100 Beyer speed figure. And it was a grade 1 Madison over at Keeneland. And this horse is like the green lights turned on in her head, and she's racing now. I think you're gonna get some good value on Positano Sunset, and it's a long shot play, but I think it's in the realms. The other horses I was reeling off to you, the Ways and Means, Vava, and Celia, they haven't raced yet. Their last race was probably at the Breeders' Cup. It's the Breeders' Cup for all those 3 horses. These are really, these are the quality horses, the race, but they haven't raced yet in 2025. But don't get me wrong. With those trainers, those horses will be ready to go. But, so I'm landing on number 11, Positano Sunset.
All right, I like it. And then would you put in these other ones in exactas or anything?
If I was going to do exacta box, I don't know if I do a straight exacta, because I really do like Ways and Means a lot. I think this horse will show up, and she shows up. I think she'll win. But so I will also do exacta box 8, 11.
Okay, love it. All right, so we got the big one, which is the 12th race on Saturday, and it's at 5:57 Central Time. I love how it's very specific like that. This is a 1.25 mile race, and I'll go through the field, and then you guys can jump in. It's a big field, as we said. I think Alastar said before the pod, at 9 o'clock tomorrow we'll find out if the alternate comes in or not. But the 1 horse is Citizen Bull. The 2 horses Neo Equus. 3 is Final Gambit, 4 is Rodriguez, 5 is American Promise, 6 is Admire Daytona, 7 is Luxor Cafe, 8 is Journalism, 9 Burnham Square, 10 is Grande, or Grand maybe, 11 is Flying Mohawk, 12 is East Avenue, 13 is Publisher, 14 is Tiztastic, 15 is Render Judgment, 16 is Coal Battle, 17 is Sandman, 18 is Sovereignty, 19 is Chunk of Gold, 20 is Owen Almighty, and then the alternate is by Baiza. So I don't know where you guys want to start here. Let us know who you think, and then how do you normally attack the Derby? It's kind of, you guys have good ones, but I'm sure there's a lot more research you're doing on this race.
You go ahead, Art.
All right. Well, there's many ways to attack it. I mean, it's a 20 horse field, so you're going to need a little bit of luck. And the horses that you pick, you're just hope they get a good trip and a winning trip. Obviously, the way I attack it is I watch all the pre-Derby prep races, all the prep races before the Kentucky Derby. And I've been doing that. Actually, I've been doing it all year long. Normally, I would kind of catch up, like the week before the Derby, but throughout this year, I started probably right around Thanksgiving weekend and all the way to now. So I watched them live at the time. I've rewatched them a few times, throughout the springtime. And then, as you guys know, I was live at at 3 of them this year. How blessed am I? I was at Tampa Bay Derby. I was also at the Southwest Stakes and then Arkansas Derby. So I got to see a couple of the horses up front and really close. So that was really a really interesting experience. The other ways I handicap it and look at this race is obviously the past performances, and then finally, what Alastar is saying in a way is, track conditions, but also the shape of the race, or how you going. What do you expect to happen for the pace of the race? Is it going to be a slow race, or is it going to be some hot fractions up in front where a mid pack and a closer could get to it? But even sometimes if it's slower up in front, a horse just off the pace could still get there, but then it prevents the deep closers from possibly winning the race. So you get as a handicapper, you got to try to anticipate what the shape of the race is going to be. And then finally, as Alastar said, all these horses are 3-year-olds, so they're still young and they're maturing. Like American Promise, I think he was born a year ago, so he's barely or not a year ago, 3 years ago. So he's one of those later born horses that still developing and maturing. So there's a lot of things that you need to take into account, and so that's my thought process. Alastar, if you want to chime in on some of what you're thinking about when you're looking at trying to pick a Kentucky Derby horse winner.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of like Art said, there's a little bit of 20 horses is unusual for American racing. Usually has 12 horses, 14 at the very, very most. Once you start getting to 20, the break actually becomes fairly important for a lot of these horses. Like, you'll watch the very opening 3 seconds of this race, and 2 horses will already be eliminated. And it's just because you have these 3-year-olds breaking, they knock into each other. Next thing you know, a horse that likes to be near on the lead is behind a wall of 12 horses, and he's done. And he's pulling like crazy, and it's over. So, you have to get a little bit lucky as well as trying to get some handicapping. As Art said too, try and find the shape of the race. What I try and do in cases like this is try and figure out, for this particular race, I did 3 tiers. I do a tier 1, these are my most likely winners. Tier 2, things go right for them. These people are these horses are in contention. And tier 3 is there has to be an actual shape. Something has to happen just right for these horses for them to have a chance of winning. And so that's kind of how I tried to break it down for these ones, or for this particular one. But again, I mean, literally, this is probably more crapshoot than anything else. I mean, yes, good horses should win these races, but there's a lot of good horses that have never won the Kentucky Derby just because things didn't break their way. So I will say one last thing, because I kind of said a little bit earlier. I would look at exactas a lot because there's so much money bet into these pools. Like the Kentucky Derby is our biggest betting race of the year, bar none. I think last year they said there's 75 million in the win pool, which again is a lot for a horse race. And usually for the exacta pool have something fairly similar. Just give you guys an idea. I just took a look before we jumped on to kind of give you an idea. Going back all the way to say about 10 years ago, there's been 5 different races where a 5-to-1 shot to a 5-to-2 shot won the race, and the exactas paid between, on the low end, 35-to-1 up to 480-to-1, and that's with the favorite or second favorite winning it. So my point is, if you like a bit of an outsider and you're like, I don't want to bet the favorite or the 3-1 shot, that's no fun. Well, go ahead and put him in there anyway, and put a couple under, outsiders with him, because those exactas are paying a lot of money and there's a lot of value there. So
It's a good point. Yeah,
That's
I've
what
been
you
tracking the super. I've only hit a trifecta bet for the exotic plays. My best winner on a Derby day, Kentucky Derby bet for exotic bet is a trifecta, and that paid me like $1,000 or something like that for $1 or something like that. It was when I'll have another one that race. I've been tracking the super.
good horse for art.
Yeah, humble brag. Yeah.
Yeah, one for the road, one for the ditch too. We need to buy a horse and name that. That'll be the name for the horse. But
Art, we'll have to name one AFL. Come on.
yeah, that's right. I've been tracking the superfecta payout because that's my next goal since when Big Brown won it. It's ranged from the lowest payout when who won it? American Pharoah won, or is it Nyquist maybe at 542 is the lowest. The highest payout is when Rich Strike pulled it off, $320,000 payout for a $1 superfecta payout. So on average, when you exclude the two big upsets, Mind That Bird and Rich Strike, the average payout for that period of time from like 08 to now is $32,000 for a $1 superfecta. So you obviously need all four horses. And
Dalton's
if you include
eyes
those
just
two
lit
long
up.
shots, it's
I don't know if you noticed.
63,000.
Dalton's eyes got it like saucers, like this big right now. So he's
That's
like,
why I'm trying to. I haven't hit it yet, but I'm trying to hit one of those. So that's the goal for the Kentucky Derby.
Dalton, were you kind of like the Flintstones there? That one where he goes, bat,
Oh,
bat,
man.
bat, 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 bat.
You talk about a 401k pick of the week, baby. That's what I'm talking about right there.
Here we go. So that's what we're hoping to try to get your listeners to that spot. And these are our opinions, and they're only opinions. So you could take what we provide you and then work off of it and put your own ticket together. You don't have to go what Alastar and I are going to tell you in a bit. So there's opinions, and work your magic, and hopefully one of the listeners or one of us will pull it off.
yeah, Dalton, only bet what you can afford to lose, not your 401k. Okay.
Yeah, right.
So which are the? I mean, we've got some notes here. I don't want to get ahead of you guys, but we obviously know we've been doing some of the prep races, so a lot of these horses we have heard before, and we know Sandman and journalism, and these guys are starting to get some buzz. But how are you approaching the race? And I don't know who wants to go first, but how are you guys approaching this race? And obviously, we know Art's going to try the superfecta, but you're going to do an exacta. You're going to do an exacta box. You're going to do a couple different versions, or how are you guys going to do it?
Go for it, Al.
I'm kind of in a slightly different boat than normal, as Art would know. I think I told you. So I actually did 3 futures bet, 1 in the Oaks and 2 in the Derby. So I actually have Cole Battle bet from a while ago at a 59-1. And if that one comes in, well, hey Dalton, you will have your 401k. And I also have a bet on Sandman at 22-1. So he's 6s now. So, I kind of have some invested already. So I'm probably going to be focusing a lot more just on some exactas and some trifectas and superfectas, kind of as Art talked. Now, I'm going to be honest, if I were to go through it, Cool Battle and Sandman wouldn't be my horses to pick like tomorrow. Again, I kind of put them in that category. If something went right, they could definitely win the race, but they're definitely not up there. But I would say strategy-wise, my top 3 horses would probably be, if you're just looking, are Journalism, Baeza if he gets in, and Sovereignty. Those are kind of my tier 1 ones. Again, it's not very creative. It's not very long shotty, but I think where I'll try and do some damage is possibly trying to get the unders, as we kind of talked about with some of the other horses. And I think there's a couple in there that you could take a look at that might be interesting. But before we get into those, Art, why don't you go talk? Because you actually have a strong opinion about this race, far stronger than me. So why don't you give the people what they want?
All right.
We're here, Horseshoe Murphy, dude. This is your chance to shine.
I will. I know on one podcast you said I had a horseshoe up my what. If this pick comes in, it will be a 401k pick, and we'll all go to. I'll fly everyone out to Vegas. All your listeners, all your big time listeners, and us. We'll go out and have a good time in Vegas. So, obviously, journalism is the horse to beat. When I watch this horse race or run, his stride isn't as long as Sovereignty, but boy, it is just silky smooth. It's just silky smooth. Kind of reminds me like maybe an American Pharaoh, or is that yeah, Pharaoh?
Yep.
Just really runs really just just easy to watch, and you could see why everyone loves this horse. And the time figures backs it up. It most likely this horse will win, but you just never know on Kentucky Derby Day. Something he might just not get the he might not like the kickback that he gets. Say if it's a little more muddy on Saturday because of the rain. Maybe he doesn't like so much company because he's been running five field races and stuff like that. I'm making some excuses, but if this horse is if he is who we think he is, he's going to win the race. But I was trying to look for some value, and I'll give you my final thoughts in a bit. But I'll kind of explain how I got to the horse that I like. A couple weeks ago or a month ago we were on for the podcast, and I threw out I think 3 picks. I actually hit 1 out 3. Thank goodness. Burnham Square came through. But the other horse that I gave you guys should have won the race, but it was the Wood Memorial race. Grande raced in that race against a bunch of horses, but it was Rodriguez, the Baffert shipper from the West Coast, that came and won the race. And when I think I was watching it I don't know if I was watching live with Alastar, but we were texting each other, and the race went off where Rodriguez was on the 1 hole with Mike Smith, and he got out in front, and it looked like a Saturday walk in the park at Santa Anita for a typical Bob Baffert race. Use some speed up in front early, slow down the fraction so the speed horse could catch his breath, and then once you got to the 3/4 pole, just turn it on and fire away. And the horse, Rodriguez pulled it off and pulled a big buyer speed figure, and a pretty good thorough sheet number at a 2. The thing what I worry about Rodriguez, if you look at the races before that out in Santa Anita, 3 races before he rated behind Citizen Bull, who was Baffert's number 1 horse. Rodriguez did not like being rated, and and didn't fire in that race. The second to last race, he raced against Journalism and Barnes. And Barnes is, I think, probably Baffert's number 2 horse because he named him after his longtime assistant. And Barnes, so Rodriguez rated in that race and he didn't like it, and he came in 3rd. So he finally got some, if you want to do a NASCAR analogy, he got some, he got out in front, he loved it, and succeeded. And I think he pulled, the Wood is not known to be a strong race, a strong prep race for the Kentucky Derby, but I think that number is legit. Those speed figures are legit because he ran the perfect race. I don't think he could do it again. That's my opinion, but that's where I'm at with that. But I build all that up because Grande, he was going like 3 wide around the turn, and then wide ride, in the back stretch. He could never get comfortable at all. And then when he came around the final turn, he has to go wide too. I think Alastar pointed out in one of the text messages that all the New York horses and the jockeys, they were more worried about Grande versus Rodriguez because they probably thought it was Baffert's lower quality horse. So they were trying to try to defend against Grande because he was the better horse. And so actually the speed figures came in where Grande ran at 0 on the sheets numbers, and then a really solid buyer number. I can't remember off the top of my head right now.
97.
What is it?
97.
97. Thank you. He's a curling horse, and so the horse he's bred to have stamina, and he can run the distance. And that's probably some other thing I should have mentioned. I look at the breeding and see if the horse is bred to run the 1.25 miles, because in American dirt races, you rarely see him run that long. It's usually shorter races than that. So the breeding is important for this Kentucky Derby race. So he's bred well. He proved it in his last race. Now there are some major knocks on him. He has no foundation. He's a lightly raced horse. He's ran 3 times. The first race that they popped into, Alastar pointed out, he went off 10-1. So the betting public didn't even like this horse when he started at Gulfstream, and then he won his second race, and then they threw him into the big leagues for the Grade 1 Wood Memorial. But then Alastar made another good point. He was racing out of Florida, so they could have raced him at the Florida Derby, but they obviously, the connections picked an easier race. So those are all knocks on this horse. And that's why this horse is 20-1. And it's my long shot play of the day that Grande will win the Kentucky Derby. So
Nice.
I'm your hedges.
Wow. Wait a second. Holy cow. Good for you.
Yeah.
Way to go.
Bet on Grande to hit Grande. I like it.
And here's another angle. The ownership of this horse, he's had the Kentucky Derby favorite the last 2 years. 2 years ago, his horse got scratched right before the race. And then last year, his horse Fierceness just got caught up in some pretty hot fractions, and then he was actually leading the whole race. And then when he finally got around the final turn, he faded, and he faded bad. But Fierceness proved himself later on in the midseason Derby. He won some 2 graded 1/6 races later on last year. So it's fun. So the owner is Mike Rapoli. He started like Smart Water and companies like that, and he sold it all. But Rapoli had the 2 favorite horses the last 2 years. Could you imagine? I mean, sometimes life is like that. When you think you're supposed to get it, you don't get it. But then when you're like sitting back and relaxing, enjoying it, all of a sudden it just you flip the script and the horse pulls it off. So it's another little just non-horse racing angle. But I don't know. I have a feeling about Grande. We'll see.
Yeah, foreshadowing from your Roy McIlroy take earlier too, when you're like, he's trying so hard. Maybe once he just finally let it go, and that happens.
It's like primetime Murphy at the table on Saturday morning, nice and relaxed, no big deal. Let me just throw like 40 times and win a lot of money.
All right. So
how will you? So that's your winner. Okay, journalism. You said is horse to beat, but how are you? Are you going to put together a try or an exacta box with these guys, or how are you going to put it together?
So his morning line is 20-1. He'll probably go off 15-1 is my guess. It's Rapoli. People, the people who follow horse racing will know that, and there'll be some money on this horse, but not too much money. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos. No one's picking this horse. The only 2 people that like this horse now I'm a little bit worried is Andy Serling from Naira Fox Sports 1, and he's brutal picking. But he actually didn't pick Ronda. He said he'd like him for his top 4. Okay. You'll have to watch his YouTube video to figure out who he likes. But then the other guy who likes him is the Beyer guy. Andy Beyer likes him too, and he's been off on the picking the Derby winner. So now I'm like scared. But I'm gonna do a win ticket on Grande. But then, like Alastar said, he kind of foreshadowed earlier. He did say not foreshadowed. He stated it that I'm going to play a smart ticket too. So I'm going to try to hit a home run. But my smart ticket is I'm going to single journalism as my number 1 horse, and then build exotics off of it. And when I mean exotic bets, like say a exacta, it'll be journalism number 1, and then the two or 3 horses behind it. I'm probably going to tie in like Luxor Cafe, Burnham Square. I don't know. I'm going mind blank right now. But hold on a second. Before I move on, the reason why I'm putting in Luxor Cafe, the Japanese horses. I know this horse isn't probably getting the PR that what's his name, Forever Young got last year. But as Alastar and as you guys probably know, the Japanese Japan ownership out there have been really catching up with American dirt horses over the years, where they're dirt and turf. They're sending out horses to the Breeders' Cup races and winning a few years ago, and they have been winning. They sent out horses out to the Dubai Cup and some of the cups out in the Middle East and done very well. They've caught up, with the Europeans and the Americans. So don't sleep on this horse. I would certainly use him in your exotic play. Say if you play exacta, superfectas, trifectas. I don't think he can win. He's got a shot, but I think it's it truly will be journalism to win. But don't sleep on Luxor Cafe. Burnham Square is a tough little nut of a horse. I saw him race at Churchill, not live, but on video back in Saturday after Thanksgiving. I was watching my cousin's horse race, Monet's Magic, and Monet's Magic won that race. It was his maiden win. But who was in that race was Burnham Square American Promise. So my cousin's horse beat 2 Kentucky Derby horses that day. But my cousin, after that race, my cousin texted me, goes, yeah, we won that race, but if this race is any longer, we would have lost to Burnham Square, because Burnham Square had this humongous run out. And then Alastar I sent the video to Alastar like a couple days later, and Alastar said the same thing too. So, obviously people who understand horse racing knew Burnham Square likes the distance. And what I've been hearing, Ian Wilkes has been saying this horse is ready to go. I was watching him run one training race a couple days ago when he was like running. He wanted to go so fast, but like the training rider had like the horse like head like bent down so much because he didn't want to burn up his energy just exploding on the race a few days before the race. So I think Burnham Square's in on a big one. I don't think he's going to win, but he's going to come in second or third. So don't sleep on Burnham Square, Luxor Cafe underneath. Maybe throw Grande in there, and then maybe toss in like Sovereignty and that'll be my top 5 horses. So I'd single on your exotic plays, single journals on top, and then maybe use those 4 horses, on the second, third, and fourth. And here we go. Let's get some magic.
Nice.
Love it. I'm still going to go for American Promise. I know I put that, and you guys are poo-pooing me, but I like the sire there and Justify and Tap It horse. But I will follow your guys' instructions. I will spread the money around. But besides that, and I don't know if Dalton has any questions, but you guys also mentioned in the text thread, you guys are doing some sort of contest for the Derby, right? I'm glad to hear about this. It sounds exciting. I'm not trying to get anybody in trouble. I'm sure it's all above board, but what are you guys into on Saturday for the Derby?
Well, so what ends up happening is they basically give you a bankroll, and then there's an entry fee, so they split it half and half. And the way I think it has to work for this, I think for this one, I can't remember, but I think we have to wager in maybe 7 of the races, and I think you have to wager at least $250 in each of those races.
Okay.
So you keep your bankroll basically, but then there's a big pot at the end for everyone in it, depending on how many entrants. But I mean, it'd usually be the winner will probably walk away with, I would guess in this case, at least 150, 175,000. It's would be on the low side. So, but there's a lot of people that have to be beaten, guys, to get it to win that one. So. But yeah, it's not to say between Art doing the dirt racing, me throwing in some turf racing. I think you never know. And then we have a big bet there at the finale here in the Kentucky Derby. It'd been made for a fun day anyway. So
just bring a gun.
Sorry,
bring a gun. You'll walk with all the money at that point, right?
When you invest the money in a horse for yourself, that's what I mean. I know you guys love the horses so much. We already have some horse owners. So put some of that cash into the horse owners. I mean, I know you get kids to put through college and all that, Alastar, but
I'm sure they'll find their way. The world needs ditch diggers too.
Exactly.
When the pressure's on, Alastar's amazing at the end. So we got a punter's chance to do halfway decent. So I'm excited for this tournament.
We always call the last race the get out stakes.
It's like Monday Night Football, the get out game.
Really is.
And then that's it. You guys are going to the Carryman, is that right?
I think that's the hope, to go watch it there. I think we're going to try and do some studying and some wagering. The problem with the Derby, and I haven't looked, but it's generally 90 minutes between the race before it and the Derby. It's an awful long time. I know they're trying to feed mint juleps into everybody, but God, that's a lot. So, but I will tell you it's still, as they say, it's the most exciting 2 minutes in sports. So it is it is a fun day. So
the build up. And hopefully that you're just going to be in the mix for that money, and you just need the Derby to come through, and then it's all roses for everybody. So
well, we'll see what happens, guys. Again, I would just tell you, I know you like your American Promise. I'm going to tell you he was one of the first I threw out, but I'm not going to try and dissuade you from him. I would just tell you one thing: that last race he ran on a super fast track where they've never done a Derby trial before, and all the other horses that have been coming back that ran that day have all done poorly. Again, not to dissuade you, but just to give you information.
Yeah, I'm not putting my 401k on it, Alastar. Don't worry.
Okay. No,
just
no
my
problem.
winnings from Rivers the night before. That's all.
Oh, geez, no. Here's my one prediction for you, though. Kind of horse racing related, though. You were talking about possibly 21 Baeza getting in. Here you go, Art. I'm giving you my prediction. My prediction is Owen Almighty will scratch, and that they're going to let him in. So I haven't heard that anywhere. It's just the trainer doesn't want to run him in the race. He's publicly said he's being forced to by his owner, which I'm sure is putting together. That's probably not the greatest partnership right now then between trainer and owner. But my guess is that they will likely scratch him. And if he does, then I would tell you I think Baez is the horse to beat in the race.
Nice. Love it.
So I would say he's as far as Kentucky Derby goes, he's probably 401k consideration worthy.
12 to 1. That's what I like to hear.
You should share that story about the trainer and all that stuff. You got one good story about Cherise,
about who? Bamper?
No. But by his trainer, is it John Sherris or Sharif? he didn't have like Street Sense was his horse.
No, he had Giacomo, didn't he?
I'm sorry, Giacomo. Long shot.
You remember? Actually, if you guys get a chance after this and your listeners, it's about a 7 or 8 minute video. It's 20 years ago. So again, it was a 2005 Kentucky Derby. TVG has this, TVG is kind of a sports network. And one of the announcers there, it's a 7-minute segment. This guy was picking Giacomo. I don't know if Giacomo won at 50-1 or whatever it was, but they do all the clips from an hour and a half before the race. And then, of course, they go off the air and they go to NBC, but they still have him being taped and all the TVG personalities watching it. It's actually a fantastic video. It's only about 6 or 7 minutes long, but just Google Giacomo and TVG announcer, and it's a fun video to watch.
Yeah, Alastar shared it with me. That thing was truly amazing. And the other thing cool is that trainer, he trained, he was the trainer for Zenyatta. That horse won like 19 races in a row. She ran in the Breeders' Cup Lady Classic, beat the ladies in, I think, 08, 07, I forget what year it was. Then raced against the best boys, the men on 1.25 miles, the Kentucky Derby length, against the best guy horses in the world. Beat all the boys, just hands down, and then raced one more time in the Breeders' Cup Classic against all the boys, and just almost won the race and came in second by like a head. And
one of the greatest races ever.
Yeah, Alastar did all right on it. I lost on that race, but Alastar did okay.
I had a very nice exacta on Blame over Zenyatta, and I was very, very happy that day. Anyway.
Yeah. All right. Thanks for having us. It was really a treat to be on here, and I'm hoping between Alastar and I we can at least steer you in the right direction to put some winning tickets together.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us on the finale. We need this information. I can speak for Coop a little bit. We don't know that much about horse racing. You guys have given us so much over the 3 podcasts we've been on now for you guys. It's incredible. So thanks.
Well, thank you guys. Good luck on Saturday.
Yeah, we're gonna need it. I found that TBG video you're talking about, by the way. It's like, oh man, it's really funny. I'm not watching any volume, obviously, but like just to watch as I'm scrolling through it, the reaction as they're off the air. Oh yeah, worth your time. 100% worth your time.
Yeah, and again, it's short. It's only about 5 or 6 minutes, but it's just a really fun, like one of those look backs on live TV.
The whole crew is now in the picture watching this horse. This is so funny.
Yeah. So if you get a chance, it's very good. So, all right, guys. Well, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Lots of winning bets on Friday and Saturday.
Anytime.
All right, thanks, Alastar.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Bye, guys.
All right.
See ya.
All right. Well, we'll wraps up the season. Season 7 comes to an end. It's been a good one. Been a longer one than normal. We got some new stuff this year, which was awesome. And hopefully softball's kicking off pretty soon. Back to the beach. Hopefully you guys win the bowling tournament. So yeah, man, I'm excited for a little summer action in Chicago.
Yeah, we still got hockey playoffs to go through.
Sure.
Yeah, we got a big one tonight with Ottawa and Toronto. Can Toronto finally get the monkey off their back a little bit? That's going to be exciting. Some more golf with Primetime Murphy is hopefully in the works. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hopefully maybe next season we'll have a little more guest action.
It seemed to be a winner.
Yeah, I think I might be helping out with WRMN, which is out in Elgin, the 1410 AM station, doing On the Rise. So that might be in the works. So maybe we can have a couple more connections. Yeah. We can get some more guests on because I think it makes it really enjoyable.
Yeah, I've been promised that we would get Desert Dave on here, but he's got to get out of bed or something. But yeah, so anyway, thanks everybody for listening and following us, and we'll have this better format next year, maybe without the StreamYard, whatever. Figure out the premium stuff and have all this new format, so it's exciting. But still, follow me at Wegspool on X and on Instagram. Follow us at Side Action Pod on X and Side Action Podcast on Instagram. Don't forget about my baby TikTok.
Yeah, don't forget about the TikTok. Whatever you do, make sure you're ticking and you're talking. That's all I got to say. But I'm Coop. You can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper and on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. Again, we are the Side Action Podcast. Until next season, maybe we'll have an emergency pod if something crazy happens. Like Wegs, we got to talk about this. But another fun season. Action was in here. I almost forgot Action joined us for a minute too. That was
college basketball, right? So he had Houston deep. So he had Houston winner. He almost got that cash.
He was
so
right
close
there
on that. No, we've had some great guests. Ginger was great. He gave us some insights. I didn't bet
Patrick
Reed
yeah.
enough early enough, but it was the right call. And yeah, it's been awesome, dude. It's been a good season. So, and then obviously you're growing into your skill set, so you're getting a lot of good stuff. I love the ticker on this one.
Yeah, we'll get there. Yeah, wait till next season. It'll be even better. So, love you guys.
All right, buddy. Take care.